Hockey Show. I'm the Trev. It's too sweet. Anyway, our regular season wrapped up Sunday. It's now Wednesday. It's about time we do the season wrap up for your Seattle Kraken. Let's talk about it. So, in keeping with the theme of the inaugural season videos that I've done, you can catch 1 and 2 in the links below above, or just check out the playlist that I have for the Kraken. I'm going to go over some more firsts that we had this season. Not all of them, just because some of them are a little tedious, some of them are a little more just for the purpose of having general knowledge, like the first team dog is named Davy Jones. But I'll go over some of the serious ones and the ones that, are definitely good to get out of the park. Like Jordan Eberle being named our first All-Star representative on January 13th, 2022. Yeah, it's become a thing now where every team has a representative, and Eberle was our first. Not a bad choice for a first one. Our first shootout win came at home the same day. We got the first team dog. And that was on January 17th against Chicago. Our first overtime win came 10 days later on the road in Pittsburgh. And Adam Larson, your boy there, has the only overtime winner for the team to this point. Our first shutout win on the road happened on February 2nd against the Islanders. Getting the goose egg was your good old German efficiency, Philip Grubauer. Now, the sad and weird thing for me on this one, and if you followed me long enough, you know that Varlamov, the goaltender for the Islanders, he's my boy. He was in net for this shutout. So a huge part of me was happy that we got the first shutout out of the way, much less the first shutout on the road. Part of me was a little bit sad because Varley's attached to that. But team over player, you got to go with the team, right? Our first 1,000 point player, or 1,000 games played player, happened on March 5th at Washington, when Mark Giordano played in his 1,000th game. The unfortunate news for this is Ovi was still on the goal hunt, and this is where he scored goal number 764, which at the time put him only 2 behind Jaromir Jagr for 3rd place overall. We'll talk about Giordano in a bit. And by in a bit, I meant like right now, as we're talking about the first trade deadline for the Seattle Kraken. That was March 21st, the day before, a whole 15 days after he played his 1,000th game, we traded our first captain in team history to Toronto. Now, I've read this a lot, so let's answer this. Why trade your inaugural captain? There's a few simple reasons for that, actually. The first and simplest answer is he requested a trade. He wanted to go to the playoffs. He wanted to have a shot at a Stanley Cup, and he wanted to do it at home. So he basically narrowed down the choices for everybody. Now, I don't think trading him was ever the ideal solution. I don't think that was ever intended. And yeah, he's a UFA. I think there was probably hope that they could have re-signed him. But when you request a trade, that's what that is. I don't think they went into the season naming him the inaugural captain with the idea of trading him. It's probably never the case, but we at least got the captaincy out of the way, right? I mean, we named our first captain in our first year, not in 4 years like Vegas did. But it opens the door for other guys who could be captain, and there's a wide range to choose from. And that'll bring us to the last one I'm going to talk about, which is April 29th against San Jose, where Chris Driedger got the first shutout at home. Ultimately, the 3rd shutout for Seattle this season. So we got both the shutouts out of the way. And that was our second last game. Like I said, our season concluded May 1st against Winnipeg. That was a loss. But we can always go over our schedule or our standings in the division. So let's do that. So as far as the Pacific Division is concerned, we finished in 8th. 27-49-6 record for 60 points. And yeah, I'm sure playoffs was expected for a lot of people, myself included. I thought we'd at least make a closer push. I didn't think we'd make the playoffs, but I thought we'd be at least in 5th, 6th. But first year, we went through the growing pains. Unlike Vegas, who went for the win it now and skipped the growing pains, we at least went through the growing pains. So we will endure, and we'll bounce back from this. Now let's talk about the teams we beat. Of the 31 teams left in the league to beat, we beat 20 of them. So 7 wins came from teams we'd already beaten. We can talk about that too. Beat the Sharks 3 times, including the shutout at home. Beat Buffalo twice. Beat Chicago twice. Once in a shootout, once in a shutout. Beat the President's Trophy winners twice. Beat Montreal twice. Once in the shootout, and the first time with our first home win. Beat Nashville twice, including the first win in franchise history. Beat the Ducks once. Beat the Coyotes once. Beat the Metropolitan Division champs once. Beat the Central Division champs once. Beat the Stars. Beat Detroit. Beat the Oilers. Beat the Kings. Beat Minnesota too. Beat Jersey in a shootout. As already mentioned, we shut out the Islanders. Beat the Senators. As mentioned, beat the Penguins in OT. And we beat Trev's other team, Ovi and the Caps. Of our division, the teams we haven't beat are the Flames, the Canucks, and the Golden Knights. Teams we haven't beat that aren't in our division includes the Blue Jackets, the Rangers, the Flyers, St. Louis, Tampa Bay, Toronto, and Winnipeg. Hopefully next season we can change that. Now let's look at our stats. Players, Adam Larsson was the only player on the team to play a full 82-game schedule. He also has the only overtime goal in team history and this season. Jared McCann led the team in goals and points, whereas Vince Dunn led the team with assists. Carson Soucy led the team in plus-minus with a +7, and Vince Dunn also led the team in penalty minutes. McCann also led the team in power play goals and power play points. It's a 4-way tie for shorthanded goals between McCann, Gord, Soucy, and Tanev. I can't wait till he plays a full season. Whereas Gord led the team in shorthanded points. And there's a 3-way tie for game winners between Gord, Larsson, and Tanev. So for goalies, Grubauer leads most statistics here. Games played, games started, wins, losses, overtime losses, shutouts, and minutes. Whereas Dreger had a better goals against and save percentage, with half the wins and half the shutouts. So that's our stats in a nutshell, really. But here's one stat I want to pay close attention to next season. That of Matty Beniers. 10 games, 9 points, and no penalty minutes. It'd be fun to see what he can do in a full campaign, as opposed to just 10 games. So my overall thoughts on our inaugural season. It wasn't the best season, but it definitely wasn't the worst. I mean, 27 wins compared to what Vegas did in their inaugural season. I mean, there's really no comparison on that, but For anybody expecting that, I'm sorry you were greatly disappointed. I actually was kind of encouraged because we went through the growing pains. That'll teach us how to lose. Let's learn how to win. That's the way I look at it anyway. Next season, it should be a much different story. I mean, the off season can bring a lot of different things. Hopefully, Grubauer conditions a lot better because I mean, going from Vezina Trophy nominee to not so much was kind of disheartening, but he'll get better. I hope so, anyways. We've got a plethora of draft picks that we can draft or trade with in the draft coming up, so that's another thing. But all in all, it's going to be a while till we're at October. I mean, the draft and free agency are next for as far as the Kraken is concerned, and you guarantee I'll be there to pay close attention to it. So we'll see how it goes from there, and when the time is right, we'll discuss next season.